Hi, Emmanuel here with T2S, and T2S stands for Transformed to Succeed. In this video today, what I would like to do is just to show you a quick demo on what we call blue-green deployment. So what we call blue-green deployment. What this means is, when you as a company, you serve people, right? So you have your application, and this application could be anything. This application could be anything. It could be an example. These are just examples here. Examples you have like Facebook. You have Facebook, you have YouTube, and so on. Okay? So these are the app that you provide. Okay. So now here you have your customers. Your customers, they get access to your application, and it could be anything here. It could also be Netflix or Instagram, so anything. So you are the DevOps engineer here. So you are the DevOps engineer. You take care of the application. This is like the back end and front end, right? So the front end, this is here. This is the front end. So the front end, it's more like for, operations team and stuff like that. So they have the infrastructure that allows your customer to interact with your application, right? And here, this is where you have your back end. Your back end, this is where you write your application. So now when we talk about deployment is what you do to make your application accessible, highly available, meaning that your customer would always have access to your application, and it is resilient, meaning that if anything bad happens, it will still heal and get back to normal without disruptions of your customers' connections to the application. So that's kind of like this will give you at least an idea of how you should be operating. But the point is, back to the blue-green deployment. So you have everything set up, your application is up and running, your customers connect to your application, everybody is happy. So now you don't want to have any downtime. So what you do not need, what you need is no downtime. No downtime. And no downtime means that even when there is any issue on your infrastructure, or your application is having some issues, there will always be a way that your service will never be interrupted. So no interruptions. So how do you do that? So you do it by using what we call a blue-green deployment. Usually most people, they refer to blue as the active deployment. So active deployment, and then the green is what you're gonna use. It's like a standby deployment. So you use this when there is a situation, like there is an interruption, because the blue is the one running So when there is an interruption, what you do is to just switch to reroute. So you are going to reroute your traffic from blue to green. So every time there is an interruption, you just rewrite traffic to green. So green will become like your blue for now. And during that time, you will be troubleshooting the blue deployment. So that's kind of how it works. And what I have here is, I have some guide. I'm going to use a guide here. So you find it on my GitHub. So we're going to have to first we clone our repository. And this repo, what it has scripts on how to scripts for our application. So we're gonna have we'll have like a blue app, and then we'll have a green app. We also will be using Docker. We'll be using Minikube. So our application is going to be containerized, and then we use Minikube to orchestrate that. A Minikube, it's so you create a cluster, you create a Kubernetes cluster with only one control node or control plane node and one worker node. So this is not ideal for production. This is ideal only for personal projects, and that's what we're gonna use Minikube here. But for production, you use kubeadm, kubelet, and kubectl. You have to install all of those so that you have more than one worker node and again for availability and scalability and stuff like that. So so you want to do that. Well, for learning, we're using Minikube here today. So we're gonna have a manifest written in YAML. We'll also have Bash shell script to help us automate the switching between green and blue deployment. So I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna erase this. Then what we do, we go to the command line and begin working on our project here. So we're gonna begin working on our project. The first thing that I want you to do is so you're gonna need to go to let me see here. So we're gonna go to this here, and then it's also in the notes. So you have to copy this website here, or this URL. You can also find it here if you come here. Sorry about that. That's the wrong repo here. So what we need to go, this is my GitHub repo, by the way, my GitHub account. So what we want to use is this one here. So when I use this one here, so if you look at the README here, there are instructions. We'll be following these instructions. And the first thing that we want to do, I want you to make sure that you have Minikube installed on your system. And if not, then you go to this documentation here. Just click here. It's gonna take you to where you need to go and be able to take care of this. So you see the different operating systems here that you can use depending on what machine you're using. So that's number one. And if you go back and you need also kubectl, which will allow your Kubernetes cluster to interact, your local machine to interact with your cluster. And again, if you go here, you find the steps here on how to do all of this. You need Docker installed, and the same thing here. You're gonna find steps here. Just follow the instructions here. And once you do that, then we go to step number one. We're gonna go to step number one, and give me a moment here. We'll go to step number one. And now on step number one, what we want to do, I'm gonna make this a little bit wider. Step number one, so open your favorite terminal, and step number one, after you install Minikube, you're gonna check to see if Minikube is up and running. Making this a little bit bigger. You're gonna also check if kubectl is also running. Okay, so when you do this, you should get a response like this one here, meaning that it's already installed. You can do also a Docker version here, and it's installed as well. But make sure that once after you install, you're gonna need to go to I'm gonna hide that there. Perfect. You're gonna need to open your Docker desktop here. So make sure that it's installed. Okay, and I have my Minikube here already installed. So I'll just minimize that, or you can just even if you just close it, it should be okay. So the first thing you need to do is to start your Minikube, and it's gonna look like this here. So give it some time, and then it's gonna start. Coffee break. All right, so it looks like it's already done here, and what something else that you're gonna need to do is to you're gonna need to run this command, and remember all of these steps, they are here. Use the README documentation here, file here. Just copy that, and then you just paste it here, because I have all the commands ready for you here. And what you want to do with this command is to allow everything to interact with your Docker environment on your Minikube. So we're gonna make sure that my machine can begin communicating with all of that. And then I run the command like that. And then this is where you're gonna have to now copy. You're gonna have to copy this here, paste it here, meaning I wanna put this repo on my computer. And now I go into my this one, because this is the repo that we want to copy, right? If you go back here, you look at the name here, this is what we want. This is what we want, right? The blue-green deployment. And that's what we have here. See, that's what we need. And to get into that directory, we need to cd. And then I cd, clear my screen. If I ls to see what we have here, we have a few things here. And also we have the readme here. Okay. So I can also use the tree command to give us a good looking visual of what we're dealing with here. So we have the Kubernetes environment. This is where we have the deployment files and service file. Then we have the blue application environment. This is where we have the Docker file. The Docker file will allow us to build our application, and we'll be using the HTML file here to define our application. This is a web application, so we'll be using this, and we do the same for green. And then this is a script, a Bash shell script that I wrote to switch between green and blue, okay, environments or deployments. So what we need to do, we already have. And once you git clone, you don't need to write these to create these files again, because all of these files are already on your machine. So after step number 3, you skip step 4 and go to step 5. And the step 5, we want to build our images. So our application, right? And the blue application and the green application. And how we build it, we build them using Docker. And that's why I said we needed Docker at the beginning of our session, okay, installed on our machine. And we're gonna use this command here to build a blue, this is the application that we will call blue app, all right? So let's go back here. So we're gonna build the first app. We'll call it blue app, and we use the script from this directory here. This is where we have the Docker file, and this is where we have the index.html. So I'm gonna run that, and it's gonna build our image here. So that is done. I'll recall the same command, but this is going to be the green application, and I'll change this to green app. Then I press enter. Okay, that is done. So the image is set. I'm gonna type it right here. All right, so after we do this, we can verify our images by using this command here, Docker images, and these are the two images that we just built. But mine says 5 days ago because I did it like 5 days ago. I can still rebuild it, but it keeps the same original day and time when I did it. Yours will probably say like a few seconds ago or 10 seconds ago and something like that. So I'm gonna clear my screen here. And after we do that, now, if you go back here, looking at our guide here, so you have we have step 6, we are step number 6 here. And you don't need to create these files here. The deployment manifest, they have four major, I'll say parts here. I'm gonna make it bigger. So there's this one here. You always need to have, when you write the Kubernetes manifest, you're gonna need a kind, which could be a service, ingress, it could be anything here. But in our case, this is a deployment. Then you have metadata. These are like pieces of information that you want to attach to your deployment or whatever manifest that you want to write here. Then you have spec. Under spec, you have replicas, you have selector. You may also use a template. Under template, then you have all of the other things. But the 4 major parts are API version, kind, metadata, and spec, because everything else falls under spec here. You see? All right. So this is what we'll be deploying. So we're gonna deploy our first deployment will be the blue deployment, and already we have also the green deployment. It's pretty much the same. And replicas here, you can say you can have 1, 2, or 3, meaning that you have more than one pod running. All right. So the next manifest would be the service manifest here. So the service in Kubernetes is what exposes your application to to anything else, and it could be so you want to expose this to either within your cluster, or you want to expose this outside your cluster. And what defines that is what you add here at the end here. So if you use node port, it means that somebody from outside your cluster, they can access your service, your application. And you can also do cluster IP, meaning that it only stay within your cluster, and so on. All right. After we do that, we will not even have to create these manifests, because the files are already on our system, right? Because you remember we git cloned our repository. But what we want to do next is to apply these configurations, and that's what we will be doing right now. So let's go back to our terminal. And back to our terminal, how we apply this is by using the command kubectl apply, and then the -f. Then we specify the path to our deployment. In this case, it's going to be a deployment file, and then run it. Okay. Yours will say created or something like that. Either it says created, deleted, or unchanged. Okay. Like in my case, it says unchanged because I did it not long ago. And I'm gonna do also for the green deployment here. And then lastly, I'm gonna do for the service manifest here. I will apply it. Okay, so it said configured. Okay, so you're gonna say configured, unchanged, or something else. So you do these commands, and once you do this, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna minimize this a little bit so that we can look at the same time at so I'm gonna put this here for now. Okay, we're gonna do this here, and I'll switch to my, all right, so that you can see both my screen and the next step here is to use this command here. And this command will allow us to access. We're gonna access Minikube. We're gonna access our service, and our service is blue, green. We'll call it blue-green service. And guess what? When we do this, it's gonna route traffic to the blue deployment. So you're gonna see a blue background, and this is our active deployment. So I'm gonna do that. It's gonna do something like this, and you see here we have the blue deployment. So now, and to stop this, you just press Control-C, and it's gonna exit. So now that we have done that, we wanna go here. How do we switch between blue and green? So let's look at this command here. So I'm gonna copy that command, and I will explain this command to you here in a moment. So what this command does, I'll make it a little bit bigger. What this command does is, of course, it's a kubectl. So you're gonna patch. What do you want to patch? Do you want to patch a deployment? Do you want to patch a service, or whatever you want to patch? And in our case, it's a service. And then this is the service that we have, right? We have already created this service. And now what we want to do is to, when you use the -p, is to say, to make it recursive, like you start with the parent folder and then directory, then you go to the child and then the grandchild and child of the child and so on. So in our case, we're gonna go to the YAML file, the service YAML file. We're gonna go there and then look for the spec, and that's why we have this here to say, okay, go one step lower and look for selector, and one step lower, look for app, and one step lower, not one step lower. And then when you get to the app, then switch to green. So we're changing, we're gonna change this, this command will change this to green. So if I run this command, that's what's going to happen. And I'm gonna show it to you in right now. So I'll just run the command, look to the right, you're gonna see the blue background, it's gonna change to green. And okay, it doesn't change automatically. It changes when you call this command here. So you're gonna then apply that, all right? So we have patched the deployment, and when I run this command, the screen, you know, the web page on the right of your screen, it's gonna change to green. See, that's how it works. And then if you go back here, press Control C. If you can call the same command here. If you change this to blue and you apply, guess that it's been patched, and then you go back to run your service, and it's gonna go back to blue here. So now, instead of you running, you know, as a DevOps engineer, cloud engineer, instead of you using this long command here, so this is where, the reason I decided to write this here, this code here. You see the bash shell script here, and this will automate. All right. So if it's blue, and you run this command and this script and apply it to green, it's gonna switch traffic to green. So that's kind of like what this means. And then first you're gonna have to make this executable. All right, so you're gonna make this executable. And how do we do that? So we go, let's stay here. You're gonna make this executable. So I'm gonna clear my screen, and make sure that you are wherever this file it should supposed to be. All right, so we have the correct path here, and I'm gonna make it executable here. So that's done. And now what we do, we just use this here. So if you want to switch to blue, like here we have the, let's say we have this, let me close all of these here. So we're gonna switch to, let's start with blue. We're gonna switch to blue, and then what you need here, just run the service here, the Minikube service command, and you're gonna see the blue here. So if we do the same thing here, we're gonna run the script to change it to green. So it's the same thing that we were doing with using this long command. Instead of using this long command, so you just use this, run the script here. So we're gonna run the script again, and we just change it to green. And what we need to do is just to run the Minikube service. And when you do that, it's going to change to green. Yeah, that's pretty much it. How you can change, switch between two deployments. Blue, that is active. When you have an issue, then you just reroute traffic to the green deployment, and start then troubleshooting your blue deployment. And when it's not now working okay, then you can reroute back the traffic to your blue environment. So you always have those two deployments, and no downtime. When interruptions happen, your customers service, the customers will always receive the service that or have the access to the application that you serve them with. I hope this is helpful. This is not the only way to do it. In another video, I'll show you how you can do the same thing. But in this case, remember, we're using Kubernetes to take care of the deployment and the blue-green deployment. In another video, I'll show you how you can use S3 bucket to host your static website. And then you can use Route 53, CloudFront, and then you can switch between green and blue environment using some of the AWS services. So I'll see you there in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. God bless, and happy deployment.